Thanks for tuning in for another D6 pack video. Today I'm going to be going over the game Quacks of Quedlinburg by NorthStar Games. And before I do that, I just want to say if you appreciate this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. Also, check out our social media accounts at D6 Pack Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch. Also, check out our bi-weekly podcast, which should be available on your favorite podcast streaming app. And with that, let me get to the game. So here you see the setup for a two-player basic version of this game. There are different books that can be switched out for more advanced versions, but for our first live playthrough anyway, I wanted to kind of just give you a basic overview of how to play the game. So these two books will not start in the game. Those will come in later rounds. But the basic concept of this game is that you are each playing doctors of some sort, trying to advertise your potions and concoctions to the people of this fair in Quedlinburg. And in order to do that, you need to build up your potions in different ways that will earn you more points than your opponents. So for setup of the game, each player will get a board. They'll have a potion and a rat token, which I'll get more to in a minute. They'll start the game with 1 ruby and a teardrop token that marks where they'll begin. They're placing their tokens out, and then score markers will go on the scoreboard. I already kind of mentioned these books, which can be variably set up for different player counts and complexity. And then the fortune teller tokens will go near the scoreboard somewhere. You'll have a bonus die, and then all of the extra resources can be placed around the table. Additionally, each player will get 7 white tokens, 4 1s, 2 2s, and a 3, as well as 1 orange and 1 green. I know it sounds like I'm saying 1 too many times there, but I assure you I'm not. And then these tokens will go into that player's bag. And then you're ready to begin the game. The game is played over 9 rounds, and whoever has the most points at the end of that round wins. But each round, this little teardrop token is advanced 1, and there is often some sort of special activation that round. For example, the second and third rounds is when these 2 books will be added into the game. And then in the 6th round, each player will have to add an additional 1 white token to their bag. And then the 9th round is played a little bit differently, which I'll get back to in a minute. At the beginning of the round, the first player will flip over a new fortune teller card, which is going to be some sort of an event that is going to happen that round. Blue cards are either continuous or end of round effects, whereas purple cards are cards that happen immediately. So during a round, players will simultaneously draw from their bag 1 chip at a time and then place it onto their board based on the number that's on that token. So for example, I just drew a 2 out, so I'm going to count 1, 2 spaces from my starting position. And then when I draw the next token, I will go from the last place token that I placed. So 1, 2. I will continue doing this until I get to a point where I don't feel safe drawing again. So the way you would determine that is if you were ever to exceed a level or a value of 7 on white tokens, you would bust, and you would then have a choice to make when it comes to the scoring of this round. So at this point I have 5 in white tokens, and there is still a 3 left in my bag, so there's a chance that I could draw that and then I would bust. So I may decide to stop at this point. And then once all players have decided that they're done, they will compare their board. And for all of the players who have not busted in that round, they will compare how far they made it placing tokens around the board. Whoever made it the furthest gets to roll the bonus die. In the case of a tie, all tied players would roll that die. Then we go into scoring. So the bonus die is actually the first part of scoring. Then we would evaluate the moths. So moths, at least in the basic game, are a comparison of you to your neighbors. So if you have more moth tokens than one of your neighbors, you'd get a lower reward. And if you have more moth tokens than both of your neighbors, you get the higher reward. Spiders are based on the last two positions that you drew, the last two tokens that you drew. For each of those that is a green spider token, you get a ruby. And then pink, which does not come out until later in the game, is based on how many of those tokens you've drawn. So if you've drawn 1, you get a point. 2, you get a point and a ruby. 3, you get 2 points and to advance your droplet token. So you'll be starting at a further point for future rounds. Then players will evaluate whether they got rubies. So really all 3 of these positions are based on where your last token was placed. If the next empty space after your last place token has a ruby shown in it, then you get a ruby, which will then go to your supply. Then, if you have not busted, you get to score points and collect money. However, if you've busted, you have to choose one of those 2 options. Points are shown in the gray rectangle, and money is shown at the top of the bubble of the next open space after the last token that you drew. Points are fairly self-explanatory. They're going to advance you along the point track. And money is going to allow you to buy additional tokens to help build your bag up. The cost of those tokens is shown below the token of whatever type you're trying to buy. And there are different levels. So, for example, you can buy a level 1 spider for 4 money or a level 4 spider for 14 money. And if you were to have a level 4, that is helpful because it allows you to advance more quickly along the potion track. Also, you are only allowed to buy distinctly different colors of tokens. So you could not buy multiple 1 mushrooms, for example. So there is a limit to the amount that you can buy in addition to however much money you have. Finally, players can choose to turn in 2 rubies to either advance their marker or replenish their potion, which I have not discussed yet. What that does is while you are drawing tokens from your bag, if you come across a white token that you think is going to put you in danger of busting as you continue to draw, you can choose to flip your potion over and return that token to the bag. At the end of the round, before beginning the next, we compare the number of points of players. Based on whoever is in first place, each player will count how many rat tails are between them and that player, and they will place their rat token that many spaces ahead. So in this case, if blue were in first, green would have 1, 2, 3 rat tails, so he would go 1, 2, 3 spaces ahead. And he would then begin his turn from that rat tail space. The game continues over 8 rounds until you get to the 9th. The 9th is a little bit different because play is not necessarily simultaneous. Players will each take a token from their bag and place it into their hand and reveal those simultaneously and then place those onto their board. Play continues like this until a player does not wish to continue, in which case they act as if they are doing the same thing, but when they reveal their hand, it's empty. That means they're out of that round and they do not wish to continue. Other players may continue to draw tokens until they no longer feel comfortable doing so, and then at that point you add up tokens in a similar way, with the exception being that money can be traded for 5 for 1 point, and 2 rubies can be traded for 1 point as well. This is in the last round only. At that point, whoever is furthest along the score track wins. So this was a game that I didn't really know much about going into it. I heard that it had been compared to Potion Explosion in a way, but honestly, I don't really get that feeling here. Potion Explosion's much more puzzly, and this I feel is a more push your luck style of game. So if you don't like that style of game, this probably isn't for you. However, if you do enjoy push your luck, I think that this one adds a neat mechanic in that bag building aspect that makes this one a lot of fun. We played this at our friend Kevin's house for the first time, and before we were even done playing it, Adrian had bought components for the game without even actually owning the game yet. It was out of stock at the time, so she hadn't purchased that. But we've really enjoyed playing the game. Everyone we've taught it to enjoys it. It's quick and simple to teach, but there's a lot of variability in these books that you can introduce to the game, so I really appreciate that as well. The one thing I will say is the game comes with cardboard chits, which if you play with them a lot, they'll get worn out just by the moisture from your hand, and they often also get stuck in the corners of these bags. So Adrian and I bought these plastic pieces from a store on Etsy to help kind of bulk up the tokens a little bit, and then I used clear spray paint over top of them to protect them from continuous wear. But in general, I enjoy the game. If you enjoy it, or if this is your first time hearing about it, let us know that. We love hearing comments from our listeners, viewers, whatever form you are paying attention to the D6 pack in. Reach out to us on any of our social media, or tune into our live Twitch tonight. Adrian and I will be playing this live on Twitch starting at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, so please join us for that as well. And with that, thanks for watching. Bye.